Hey cats, it's your midsole man, Eddbud here. I've tested out a boatload of running shoes over the course of this year. Some have been succulent slabs of comfortable cushion. Others have been as forgetful as an early England group stage performance. But which have been the best so far in 2024? Let's check it out. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's always appreciated. Do remember to hit that subscribe button, but also give this video a thumbs up like. It really helps out. Also, drop us a comment to help with the algorithm. Danke schön. I've checked back through all of my reviews and the scores that I've given for shoes in this year. I'm taking into account also, though, my running experiences and race performances in some of the shoes as well. So think of my ratings today as a culmination of all of those different factors. The best of 2024 so far. Some honourable mentions first. Just outside the top 5's got to be the HOKA CEILO X1. Really enjoying these, a nice sort of cruising pace, really great for sort of steady effort. They've kind of been my replacement for the ADIDAS Prime X Strung, quite a bit lighter than the Prime X Strung 2, though I didn't quite like that 250 quid price tag. I think that's going to put a few people off from testing these out, perhaps until they drop to a more discount price. There's a hefty slab of outsole rubber here as well. That's one of the things I feel they could have perhaps minimised a little bit on this shoe to lessen the weight. Though I found them really comfortable, and it continues to show us that HOKA are moving forward as a brand this year. Really love the foam in these as well. HOKA's really onto something. Also, just outside the top spots is the Fast R Nitro Elite 2 from PUMA. I found it really fantastic on a road half marathon that I ran earlier on this year. Absolutely fantastic from a cushioned perspective, though perhaps not quite the 5 or 10k blaster this time round. This one feels a little bit more tuned into the half marathon or marathon distance now. Only thing I really didn't like about it was the increased weight. Perhaps that's down to the upper materials here. There's quite a lot of different stuff going on in the design of the shoe, and it's a touch more expensive than some of the other options in the PUMA lineup at the moment. Though, I gotta be honest, still banging durability on this one. 100 miles and there's barely a scratch. So that's just outside the top spots, the Fast R Nitro Elite 2. Right, let's get down to it then. The top 5 so far in 2024. At position number 5, it's the ALPHAFLY 3. So, Nike ALPHAFLY 3 here in the prototype colorway. I've got easily over 100 miles in these now. Really enjoyed them. Didn't quite perhaps live up to my expectation to start with, but they became one of those shoes that I really wanted to use every single day, purely because of the fact they were so cushioned and forgiving. I do rate this shoe very highly, and I also hold it in high regard for letting me train so well earlier in the year to get that half marathon PB. I've managed to find that consistency in training that I haven't over the last few years, and it's a little bit down to this shoe. That midsole superbly forgiving, and I found it got better and better the more I broke the shoe in. The midsole just got that bit more enjoyable and exciting to run in. Didn't have that same clunky feeling as we had in the ALPHAFLY 2. A slightly more subtle upper to this one, and aside from some aesthetic wear, the shoe's actually holding up really well. I found these really usable in training for like easy miles, even on the treadmill from time to time, and some longer runs too with some faster sections. This is one that I'm going to keep in the rotation. I've got a fresh pair on the go at the moment. I'm holding this one back though to do those longer runs. It's absolute dynamite for that. So the Nike ALPHAFLY 3 is my number 5 top shoe for 2024 so far. At number 4, it's the SAUCONY ENDORPHIN Pro 4. So, Saucony's top tier marathon shoe, aside perhaps from the Endorphin Elite. It's a big upgrade though this time round with a layer of that Power Run HG foam on top of the main midsole. It really does energize the shoe. It just makes it a little bit more than perhaps some of the other super shoes. It's slightly more affordable than perhaps something like the Endorphin Elite or the ALPHAFLY, and a change of laces aside, it's been pretty much banging out the box. Extremely usable, in fact, for training and racing. It's not one of those shoes you have to baby too much. The foam seems to be pretty durable. It performed well enough on a 10k race for me over in Weymouth, though I would suggest this one's more dialed in for the half marathon or marathon distance if you're thinking about picking up a shoe perhaps for a race later in the year. One thing I really love about this version of the Endorphin Pro is the improved durability and that much better outsole grip and traction. It's a much more aggressive... Ow. It's a much more aggressive pattern here in the Endorphin Pro 4, and the shoe benefits from it in many different ways. Just a lot more toe-off kind of propulsion and grip there. Yes, it's upward of 230 quid, but it's in line with some of those other super shoes, and sadly that does seem to be the trend right now. Really forgiving midsole and a bang-in profile to this one. It really does look like a beautiful shoe. It's one of the best I've tried out in 2024 so far. So at position 4, it's the Endorphin Pro 4. At position 3, we've got a shoe that is well under half the price of the Endorphin Pro 4. It's the ADIDAS ADIZERO SL2. In fact, I picked this one up for under £99, which is quite staggering really, considering how good the SL2 is. It is a beautiful shoe from a looks perspective, I think you'll agree. Reminds me of some of the classic Adidas football boots that we've had over the years. The Copa Mundial, the World Cup, there's a bit of DNA from both of those. I think this one's a really simple yet comfortable starter shoe, perhaps if you're just getting into doing some running, or I think experienced runners can get something out of it as well. It's light and nimble, yet very cushioned. I think you could use this one for some longer runs, up to like 13 or 14 miles without too many problems. Perhaps if you're doing very long runs for your marathon training, you might want a little bit more cushion. But what's on offer here in the SL2 is just too good to turn down. There's only a couple of drawbacks really, which is the slightly flimsy thin laces, and I wasn't a massive fan of the insoles supplied in these. They're a bit too sort of squashy, I suppose. I've replaced them with the insoles from my Adios 8s, and it really does improve the shoe, makes it a little bit more responsive. Also seems to have gotten over the slight sort of ankle biting that I had here, just where the ball of your ankle is. Had a little bit of a problem where the foot was sinking into the shoe and I was getting a little bit of irritation, but that has completely gone away now. The outsole doesn't have continental rubber, but there's some really good traction and grip for the price you're paying. You know, you can't expect rods and some sort of super thick rubber layer here for the money. It's cheaper and as such makes you a more cheerful runner. When you've got a usable shoe like this one, running's just really enjoyable in it. You want to get it on foot more often. So perhaps not my ultimate choice for long runs, but an absolute banger of a daily shoe. Adidas really nailed it with this one. It's probably easily enough cushion for most folks out there, and the SL2 is my position 3 in the top 5 shoes of 2024 so far. When you do these lists, you've got to make some tough choices sometimes, and I've only put this one in number 2 because I've yet to race in it, and I really want to actually experience what it's like at a sort of race pace and effort, because that's very different. You can't really even imitate that in training. So tough choice, but in position 2 I've got the PUMA DEVIATE NITRO Elite 3. I love the fact that Puma have made this model even lighter than the V2. It's a real move in the right direction for Puma's top tier racing shoe. More compressive, more cushion, and it's a little bit more aggressive for it too. That extra foam in the heel now makes this a true marathon contender for me. Maybe the one I'll use next year for the Manchester Marathon. That's coming round a little bit faster than I anticipated. By the way, I got another rejection from the London Marathon, so it's like 9 years in a row or something. Let me know if you got into that one down in the comments. Probably hardly anyone will comment. With less weight on foot here though, it makes the shoe a lot more versatile. I reckon you could even use this one at around about 10k, even like a 5k I guess. It's so light this time. Having all of that with a Puma grip outsole here really does put the icing on the cake. But like at the bottom, yeah, it's a real boon, and I'm so enthused to see the big cats coming up with a shoe of this quality really, and keeping it under 200 notes. There's very little in fact that I would change about this shoe. Can't really think of anything major that you could do to improve it really. I think this one's going to keep on delivering mile after mile, and as we saw in the Fast Star Nitro Elite 2, that shoe was, you know, barely worn at all after 100 miles. And I think we'll get a similar thing here. When you consider a lot of the top super shoes really do decrease as soon as you take them out of the box or take them outside, I think this one's going to be a long-term banger. I love how Puma makes some subtle changes to the shoes each year, just keep improving them, just small things, but those small things add up. This is their best effort so far. So in position 2, the Puma DEVIATE NITRO Elite 3. At position 1, I think you probably guessed it, the best running shoe released this year, the ASICS METASPEED Sky Paris. Now, in terms of performance for me at least, this one's given me like 3 PBs. I've improved my times on the 10k and the half marathon as well, and I've come to really love the trampoline-like feel in the midsole here from that special plate positioning. Perforated laces here make getting a lockdown child's play. And the midsole is just like the Jello of the Month Club. It just keeps on giving mile after mile. It still feels great now. Still a viable race option for me, though perhaps the rubber has started to smooth off a little bit, and we got a little bit of wear here on the outsole. I mean, nothing's quite falling off or anything yet, but I think that could happen at some point. But then again, I've had some great times running in the shoe. It's been really enjoyable, so from that perspective, I'll just keep on using it till it falls to bits. Price point's good as well. I've kept it around about $220. It's a little bit cheaper than some of the other super shoes. Still a lot of money, I grant you that. But I think the plate positioning in this one, and its predecessor as well, just seems to work for me. There's something there. I don't know whether it's a slightly lower drop, but all of that put together with the very low weight, it just makes for the best shoe so far. It's enjoyable and exciting to run in, and that's what we want from running, right? I cannot imagine that the Adidas Provo 1 is like twice as good as this. That shoe's £450 here in the UK, if you can get one, that is. I seriously don't think that it can be doubly as good as this one. So, top shoe so far this year. I wonder what's going to come in over the course of the rest of 2024. I mean, the Super Blast 2's on the horizon. That's bound to be up there somewhere at the end of the year. I wonder what else could knock some of these off the top spots. Exciting times as always in the land of the midsole. Let me know your top shoes so far in 2024 down in the comments. Quick musical interlude for you. I was lucky enough to go and see Bernard Butler performing very nearby in Lyme Regis the other day, and he was supported by a fantastic artist that I'd not heard before called Annie Dressner. I did pick up one of her albums. I really love her voice. It's honest, it's pure. She had quite a violent touch on the guitar as well, which I quite liked. She had a lot of dynamic sort of range in her guitar playing. It was really good. Her new album is called I Thought It Would Be Easier, and one of the tracks I want to recommend to you is Dance We Do. It kind of sounds a little bit to me, I mean it might not to you, but to me at least, like a female-fronted, kind of more lo-fi version of Dinosaur Jr., I suppose. If you've heard any of Jane Maskis's solo albums, they're mainly acoustic sort of efforts, and it's a little bit like that really, but kind of more lo-fi, a little bit more quirky. It's a really sort of relaxed, calm way that she sings, just sort of does something to my mind. It really sort of relaxes me. I can remember actually being pretty stressed out last week and listening to her voice within a couple of tunes, and I felt really mellow. That's exactly what you want, especially if you're going out there running. She's a fantastic lady as well. Got to chat to her a little bit after the performance. Highly recommended. Go and check out our album. I Thought It Would Be Easier by Annie Dressner. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like. Also, drop us a comment to help fight the algorithm. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you